Thick smoke rose into the air, and the heat pressed against Ethan's skin, even from a distance. He stopped his truck, jumped out, and ran toward the wreck. A young woman was inside the front seat. Her face was pale and streaked with dirt. Tears ran down her cheeks as she struggled to free herself from the seat belt. She kept looking back at the rear seat and calling out for her children. Her voice was shaking and weak. Ethan hurried to her side. The glass on the front window was cracked in a spiderweb pattern. Through the broken glass, he could see her panic. He tried the door, but it was jammed. He told her to stay calm, though he could see she was terrified. Flames were growing stronger behind the car, and the fire was moving fast. Ethan did not waste a second. Grabbed a piece of metal from the ground and slammed it against the window with all his strength. The glass shattered outward. Hot air rushed past him. The woman gasped with relief as Ethan reached in and cut the seatbelt with his pocket knife. He lifted her out carefully, making sure she did not fall. Once she was on the ground, she tried to stand, but her knees gave out. Ethan steadied her and told her to stay back from the fire. Then Ethan turned toward the rear seat. The woman was shouting for her daughters. He rushed to the back door, but the handle was bent and almost melted from the heat. The twins inside were crying and holding each other tightly. They looked no older than 3. Tears covered their tiny faces, and their hands pushed weakly against the window. Ethan's heart twisted at the sight. One of them held a teddy bear that was covered in ash. The mother tried to run toward them, but Ethan told her to stay where it was safe. The twins' cries quieted only when they saw her face. Ethan carried them over to a clear spot away from the burning car. The flames rose higher and the heat grew more intense. Ethan could feel it burning the back of his neck. He turned once more to check the car, but he knew there was no one else inside. Within seconds, the fire spread through the entire vehicle. The sound of the explosion shook the ground beneath them. The mother held her daughters tightly, now safe in her arms, though her voice trembled with shock. She kept thanking Ethan over and over, but he shook his head, saying he only did what anyone should do. The twins looked up at him with wide eyes, their small hands still wrapped around their teddy bear. Ethan stepped back and looked at the burning car. The sky above them darkened with smoke. He could feel his heart racing, not only from fear, but from the weight of what had almost happened. If he had arrived a minute later, the family might not have survived. As sirens began to sound in the distance, the mother glanced at Ethan with a look he had not seen in years. It was a mix of gratitude and something deeper, something he could not name yet. Ethan took a slow breath, his hands still shaking slightly. He did not know that this night would change his life in ways he could not imagine. But standing there beside the fire, he knew one thing clearly. Fate had placed him on this road at the right time, and because of that choice, 3 lives had been saved. Lily Carter sat on a small hospital bed with her twins resting beside her. Their faces were smudged with dirt, and their clothes smelled faintly like smoke. Nurses had checked them earlier and said they were safe. The girls were tired from crying, so they fell asleep quickly. Lily kept brushing her fingers through their hair, making sure they were close. Her hands still trembled from the shock of the accident. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the flames rising behind the car and heard the sound of the door bending as Ethan pulled them out. She knew she would remember that moment for the rest of her life. A doctor walked in and asked if she felt any pain. Lily shook her head and answered quietly. She had only a few bruises and scratches, nothing serious. The doctor smiled gently and told her that all 3 of them were very lucky. Lily nodded, but she knew luck was not the reason they were alive. It was Ethan. She kept replaying the sight of him running through the heat and the fire, risking his life for people he had never met. It felt unreal. She wanted to thank him again, to tell him how much his courage meant. But when she asked a nurse where he was, she learned that he had already left. The nurse said he did not want attention and slipped out as soon as the paramedics arrived. This surprised Lily even more. Most people would stay with the family or explain what had happened. But Ethan had simply vanished from the scene once he knew they were safe. That made his actions feel even more powerful, as if he had done it only because it was the right thing to do, not for praise or recognition. Later in the night, the sheriff stopped by to take Lily's statement. He asked her to describe the accident, the fire, and how she and her daughters were rescued. Lily told him everything she remembered. When she mentioned Ethan's name, the sheriff nodded and said he knew him well. He explained that Ethan Cole was a respected mechanic who lived alone on a large farm just outside town. He said Ethan was quiet and kept to himself. The sheriff lowered his voice and added that Ethan had lost his wife 3 years earlier. She had died suddenly from a heart condition, and the loss had changed him. Since then, he had stopped socializing and spent most of his time fixing old engines or taking long evening drives. Hearing this made Lily's heart soften. She had sensed sadness in his eyes when he carried her and the twins away from the burning car. Now she understood why. After the sheriff left, the twins woke up again and crawled onto Lily's lap. They were confused and frightened. Mia asked where the nice man had gone. Ellie wondered if he was coming back. Lily hugged them tightly and told them they were safe now because of him. The girls held onto the teddy bear that Ethan had carried out of the car with them. It was dirty and singed from the heat, but they refused to let it go. To them, it reminded them of the man who had saved their lives. As the hours passed, Lily found herself thinking more and more about Ethan. She did not know why she felt so connected to him. She had met many kind people before, but something about Ethan felt different. His silent strength, his steady hands, the calm expression on his face even with flames behind him. It felt as if their paths had crossed for a reason she could not yet explain. She wanted to see him again, not just to thank him, but to understand why she felt this strange pull toward him. By early morning, the hospital grew quiet. The twins were asleep again, curled against each other. Lily stepped out into the hallway to breathe and clear her thoughts. She leaned against the cool wall and closed her eyes. All she could see was Ethan standing near the burning car, holding her daughters close. She wondered what he was doing now. Was he resting at home? Was he thinking about the rescue? Did he even realize how much he had changed their lives? What Lily did not know was that Ethan was also awake. He sat in his small kitchen drinking a cup of cold coffee. He kept staring at his hands, as if trying to understand how the night had unfolded. His farm was silent as usual, but inside him, something had shifted. He had saved people before during accidents, but this felt different. The look in Lily's eyes, when he placed the twins in her arms, stayed with him. It felt like a moment that had meaning beyond the emergency itself. Lily returned to her room and held the twins again. She whispered that one day they would see Ethan again. She did not know how, but she believed it. Something inside her said their story with him was not finished yet, not even close. Ethan Cole woke up early the next morning, long before the sun rose. He had not slept much. His mind kept returning to the scene of the burning car. When he closed his eyes, he saw the frightened faces of the twins and the shock in Lily's eyes when he placed them in her arms. He sat at his kitchen table with a cold cup of coffee and stared at the silent farm outside his window. His land was wide and empty, with tall grass swaying gently in the wind. Most days, Ethan felt at peace in the quiet. But today, something in the air felt different. He could not explain it, but he sensed that the world outside his farm was moving toward him in a way it never had before. He stepped out onto the porch and stretched his back. The morning sky was still dark, but a soft light was rising on the horizon. Ethan drew a slow breath of cool air and tried to clear his thoughts. He hoped Lily and her daughters were safe. He did not expect to see them again, yet he could not push the memory of their frightened faces from his mind. He wished he had stayed at the hospital long enough to check on them, but crowds made him uneasy. So he had slipped away quietly, just as he always did. Ethan walked to his barn to check the tools he had left out the night before. As he worked, a strange sound reached his ears. It was distant at first, a low rumble in the sky. He paused and listened. The sound grew louder, like many engines moving together. Ethan stepped outside and looked toward the horizon. He squinted, unsure if he was seeing clearly. Then the noise grew stronger, shaking the ground beneath his boots. Ethan felt his breath catch as several dark shapes appeared in the sky. They were helicopters. They flew in a straight line, heading directly toward his farm. The sound of their spinning blades filled the air. Dust lifted from the field as the wind pushed down hard. Ethan shielded his eyes as the first helicopter lowered itself toward the open field beside his barn. The second and third followed close behind. Ethan stood frozen, unable to believe what he was seeing. His farm, usually quiet and forgotten by the world, was now the center of attention. He wondered if something terrible had happened, or if someone was in danger. The first helicopter landed with a loud thump, sending grass and dirt flying into the air. The door opened, and several officials in uniform stepped out, followed by rescue workers, camera crews, and reporters carrying microphones. Ethan stared at them in confusion and took a few steps back. He had no idea why they were here or what they wanted from him. A man in a dark suit approached him with a confident stride and introduced himself as a state official. He thanked Ethan for his heroic act the previous night and said the entire region had heard about the rescue. Ethan felt his face heat up with discomfort. He was not used to praise or attention. He told the man he was only trying to help a family in danger. But the official smiled and told him that saving 3 lives from a burning car was not something small. It was a risk most people would not take. Before Ethan could respond, another helicopter landed. This one carried a woman wearing a badge from a major news station. She stepped out with her camera crew and hurried toward Ethan. Questions filled the air. They wanted to know how he had broken the door, how he had carried the twins out, and whether he knew the family. Ethan tried to answer politely, but his words came out slow and unsure. He felt like the world had suddenly turned too loud for him. Then he saw a small car stop near the dirt road. Lily stepped out quickly with her twins. Mia and Ellie ran toward Ethan as fast as their legs could move. Ethan bent down and caught them before they fell. Their small arms wrapped around his neck, and they held him with the same trust they had shown during the rescue. Lily approached with a warm look in her eyes. She thanked him again and said she had not slept until she knew where he lived. The officials and reporters stepped back, giving them space. Ethan felt his chest grow tight as Lily's voice softened. She told him that her daughters had not stopped asking about him since they left the hospital. Ethan stood there, holding the twins as the morning sun rose behind them. The farm that had always been silent was now filled with people, noise and attention he had never expected. But standing in the middle of it all, with Lily watching him and the twins holding on to him, Ethan felt something he had not felt in a long time. Did not know if it was peace or hope or the beginning of something new. All he knew was that everything in his life had changed from that moment on. The days after the rescue became very different for Ethan. His farm, which had been quiet for years, now had visitors almost every day. Some came to thank him, some came to ask about the accident. Ethan tried to stay calm, but he did not enjoy being in the center of everything. He preferred working with his tools and listening to the wind move through the fields. But there was one thing he did not mind. Lily and her twins began visiting him often, and their presence filled the empty space in his life in a way he had not expected. The twins were cheerful and curious. Mia liked to follow Ethan around the barn and ask questions about every tool she saw. Ellie liked to sit on a wooden stool and play with the nuts and bolts Ethan gave her. They laughed easily, and their small voices brought life back into the barn. Ethan found himself smiling more than he had in years. He even cleaned an old radio and played soft music for them while they played. Lily watched them with a gentle expression. She often brought homemade meals for Ethan. She said it was the least she could do for the man who saved her children. Ethan tried to say she did not have to do anything, but Lily insisted. She told him that being around his farm made her feel safe. When she spoke, Ethan noticed how her voice carried a strength shaped by hardship, but also a kindness that felt rare. One afternoon, Ethan worked on Lily's old truck. It had a broken fuel line and a few damaged parts. Lily stood beside him, holding a small flashlight as he checked the engine. They talked as he worked. They shared stories about their pasts. Ethan told her how he had grown up on the same farm and how he had learned to fix machines from his father. Lily told him about her childhood in a small town and how she had raised her daughters alone after their father left before they were born. There was no sadness in her voice, only honesty. The conversation grew deeper when the twins wandered off to chase butterflies near the porch. Lily sat down on an old crate while Ethan wiped oil from his hands. She looked at the open field and said she had not felt peaceful in a long time. Ethan listened quietly. She told him how hard it had been to stay strong for her daughters while dealing with fear from someone who had caused trouble in her life for months. That fear had followed her everywhere. It had pushed her into constant worry. On the day of the accident, she had been on her way to drop off something important. She felt the crash had been more than a simple accident, though she did not yet know the truth. Ethan felt something tighten in his chest as she spoke. He understood fear and loss well. He knew how heavy silent pain could be. He wanted to help her, not because he felt responsible, but because he cared. He looked at her and said she was not alone anymore. Lily held his gaze for a moment. The wind moved through her hair, smiled slowly, almost as if she had not allowed herself to smile like that in a long time. From that day, Lily and the twins stayed longer during their visits. The girls played with the animals near the barn. Ethan taught them how to feed the chickens and how to pat the old horse that lived behind the fence. Lily often sat on the porch steps watching them, her eyes warm and calm. One evening, the sun painted the sky in shades of orange as the twins ran around with fireflies in their hands. Ethan stood near the porch with Lily beside him. The light from the field made the whole scene look gentle. Lily spoke softly. She thanked him again and again for everything he had done. Ethan told her she did not need to thank him anymore. But she shook her head. She said he had done more than save them from a burning car. He had given them a place where they felt welcome and safe. Ethan looked at Lily and then at the twins. He felt something he had not felt since before his wife passed away. It was a mix of hope and comfort, something warm and steady, something that made him want to protect this family and stay close to them. As the fireflies lit the field and the twins giggled in the grass, Ethan realized his lonely farm no longer felt empty. Lily and her daughters had brought light back into his life. He did not know what the future would bring, but he knew one thing with certainty. He did not want their connection to fade. He wanted it to grow. Ethan woke before sunrise with a feeling he could not explain. For weeks he had grown close to Lily and her daughters. Their visits to the farm had become a part of his days. The twins filled every quiet corner with laughter. Lily brought calm and warmth to every moment they shared. Ethan had learned to smile again because of them. Still, there was something unsettled in his mind. Lily's worry about the strange fear that had followed her for months had stayed with him. He could feel that something was coming, though he did not know what. That morning, Lily drove to the farm earlier than usual. Ethan saw her truck rolling up the dirt road and stepped out to greet her. She looked tense. The twins were quiet in the back seat. Lily came to him right away and told him someone had been following her car again. She had noticed a dark vehicle behind her on the road. It disappeared before she reached Ethan's farm, but the fear in her voice was clear. Ethan placed a steady hand on her shoulder and told her she was safe here. He guided her and the twins inside the house. Mia clung to Ethan's arm, and Ellie held Lily's hand tightly. Ethan could feel their fear and wanted to push it away for them. He called the sheriff to explain what Lily had told him. The sheriff agreed to come by and check the area. Until then, Ethan stayed close to Lily and the twins. He fixed them breakfast and tried to distract the girls by letting them feed the chickens. Lily sat at the table with a worried look on her face. Ethan sat beside her and spoke softly. He told her that she did not have to face fear on her own anymore. She looked at him and nodded. For a moment she leaned against his shoulder. Ethan felt her trust, and it warmed his chest. The sheriff arrived and spoke with Lily for a long time. He said he would send patrols near her home and the roads she used. He also suggested she stay at Ethan's farm for the day. Lily agreed. The sheriff left after checking the property. For the rest of the morning, Ethan kept watch while the twins played. Lily helped him collect eggs from the chicken coop. Her hands shook at times, but Ethan stayed close, letting her know she was not alone. Later in the afternoon, Ethan took Lily and the twins to a field behind the house. The sky was bright, and the wind brushed through the tall grass. The twins ran around chasing each other while Lily and Ethan walked slowly behind them. Lily told him she felt safe here in a way she had not felt in a very long time. She said his farm felt like a place where fear could not reach her. Ethan looked at her and felt something deep and steady inside him. He told her that she and the girls had changed his life too. His voice was quiet but full of honesty. Lily stopped walking and turned toward him. The wind lifted her hair. She thanked him for giving her daughters a place where they smiled again. Ethan did not know how to respond. Instead, he stepped a little closer. She did not pull away. For a long moment they stood there, saying nothing, only feeling the peace between them. The twins ran back and hugged both of them at the same time. Mia held Ethan's leg, and Ellie wrapped her arms around her mother. Lily laughed, and for the first time since the accident, the sound carried no fear. As the day went on, the sense of danger began to fade. The sheriff called and said everything looked clear for now. Lily felt more relaxed. Ethan cooked dinner for them, and the twins told stories about their day. The house felt full of life. After dinner, Lily stood by the porch with Ethan, while the twins played with a ball in the yard. The sky darkened, and the first stars began to appear. Lily turned to Ethan and spoke softly. She said she believed fate had brought them together. She told him that she trusted him with her life and with her daughters. Ethan felt something open inside him. He told her that she and the girls had given him a reason to look forward to each new day. He said he wanted to be part of their lives for as long as they would allow him. Lily reached for his hand. Ethan held it gently. The twins ran toward them laughing and hugged both of them at once. Ethan lifted them up and Lily held them too. The four of them stood together under the growing night sky. The first time in years, Ethan did not feel alone. He felt like he had found a family again. The fear that had followed Lily for months no longer controlled her. The loneliness that had lived in Ethan's heart for years was gone. Their lives had crossed by chance on a dangerous night, but now they were connected by something stronger than fear or loss. As the stars shined above the farm, a new beginning settled gently around them. Together, they stepped into a future that felt safe and full. A future built from courage, trust, and the bonds they had formed through one life-changing moment.